I asked 7 editors from the community to send in their work, and today I will be giving feedback, reacting to it, and not only that, I will also give tangible tips that you can implement today. I'm super excited to watch them. I haven't seen them yet, so let's jump into it. The first one is Vice VFX.
Today I'm doing something that I never thought I'd ever do. And I know this is gonna piss off a lot of your favorite traders, but I just simply don't care. Right now I'm in Cairo, Egypt on vacation, and I just recovered one of my worst trading streaks, all with one profitable trade. When I posted this on my Instagram, all I had was a ton of people asking, how do you make this happen? How are you so good? And how can I do this for myself? And then I realized, most of you guys are being sold fake information by these gurus who need you to fuel their lifestyle. Well, guess what? I have absolutely nothing to sell you here. Now, if you guys don't know who I am, my name is Ollie Trades, and I'm known for pulling off some of the most savage account flips in the industry. I flipped 3,000 to 150,000 on live stream.
Great storytelling. I really like it. I also like how you did the animations. It's not too heavy, just some text animations at the bottom. I like this. This is really like dragging you into the video, right? I'm always personally not the biggest fan of these really like heavy colors, like with the bright blue. I know Alex Hormozy uses this, so you can get away with it. And then like having the never in red and then the blue, I get that you want to add some contrast to it. But how I probably would have done it is having this text maybe also white and then this also white, and then having this maybe in a regular or lighter font and then this in bold, or maybe having a line under it and not having the red and blue. What you do, however, do well is you use the same elements. So again, same color here. However, what I did notice is one, the key here around his hair. I know this is always really difficult, but in this scenario, I think you can actually key out the background because the background is really like a solid color and is contrasting with his hair. So I think you can get away with that and you get a nicer and cleaner key. And what I noticed is that you also scaled this rounded rectangle with a scale. You can barely see it, so I think you can get away with it, but I would always animate the size and not the scale. I also like the scene that you created here with the messages. However, small things, what I would have done probably is have a slow scale on it to make it a bit more engaging, and also check your padding, because a lot of people make this mistake and it's not a huge mistake at all. It's just how much space there is around your text, and as you can see, there's not much space at all here, and then on the right there is a lot of space. I think there's also a space between the question mark. You can easily fix this by just moving it a bit more to the right. It doesn't have to be perfect, but just having a bit more space. Again, you did really well with making this scene also look cool with the grain and the noise and the chromatic aberration and the vignette. That really adds something to the scene, right? The captions are simple but cool. They keep you engaged, and then the zooms are also really engaging. Cool video. Then the next one is Mazil.
I've seen too many wholesalers waste months grinding in markets that were never going to work while they had gold mine locations right in front of them. After doing over $500,000 in wholesale just this year, I've developed a very simple approach for identifying these gold mine markets that can produce 10, 20K, and even 50K assignment fees. Today, I'm going to show you my exact criteria for finding these gold mine locations so you can stop wasting time in dead markets and start focusing your energy to where it actually pays off. This is literally a shortcut to success that could save you months of frustration. Now, the first thing that I want to cover is the population sweet spot. You want to target counties with a population of 500,000 people or more.
Cool, really clean. I think the animations are amazing. I don't think you should change anything about that. I think there are some improvement points in terms of design. Let's jump into it. So I think this hook is actually quite cool, although I don't really see what's happening here with the text. Maybe you wanted to break the text. I think that's actually a good hook, but again, I didn't see the text. I think the text went so quick. It already broke before I could even read it. This transition is dope though. I would have probably add some motion blur to it, but I think it's a cool transition. And then we go to this next scene. And again, your animation is really good, but I think you can improve this a bit in terms of design. So first of all, this silhouette with the bevel emboss around it, it just makes it look a bit old school. I don't think you actually need this silhouette anyway. Then I would keep this. I think this is cool. Then here, I actually think this is also a really good example. You don't always have to type out all text. This could also just be gold mine locations. And then maybe just with a map that shows gold mine locations. And you can use vectors like this, but now it really feels like a separate PNG that is in this scene. How you can blend this more is, for example, have this at the bottom and maybe have it just bigger. I think you can use the same PNG and then just move the scene into that, make it blend a bit more and put down gold mine locations. I like this counter. I think that's cool. I also like the colors there, the scale. This is also cool with the text. Now this scene also, I love the animation. I think it could have used some motion blur, but for the colors, colors, I probably would have made some changes. So I like the text with the gold mine. I also like that that's in a color. Again, I would remove the bevel and emboss on the text, but then with the yellow and blue, it is always a bit of a difficult combination. I think if you kept these numbers just white and maybe the blue a bit darker and then this line a bit thinner and also white, this scene would look a bit more put together. And with colors like these, just some general advice, it's just smart to keep like an accent color, maybe have something in gold, but not have everything in gold. And when you already have an element like this in gold, you don't have to make everything in that same color scheme. And what this will also create is it will create more attention to this gold mine, because now my attention goes everywhere. It goes here, goes here. That's the nice thing about choosing an accent color, is that you can really make something stand out. I like this effect. I think this is cool. This text animation did take me out of it a bit. I think you could have just made these like fade in, or maybe even like cut them so there's no animation on the subtitles. Or lastly, at least adding motion blur, because now it was a bit distracting because it's so sharp. It really draws your eyes to it. And this, of course, same feedback. I think also with this card, if you make this like dark black or something, or dark blue with a really soft stroke around it, you can make it look a bit more luxurious. But other than that, I like the concept. It's cool. Maybe I would have feathered this a bit, this icon, and then maybe just make it black. Again, there's just one accent color, which is blue in this case. But all in all, dope edit. The next one is MJ. What if I told you that 99% of the video editors make the same mistake and is the reason no one hires them? If you're an editor, you're competing with thousands of others who look just like you. And the truth is, it's not only your skills that are holding you back, it's the way you present them. Today I'm going to show you exactly how to stand out in the sea of editors and get clients banging on your door. Stick around, because this could change your editing career forever. Ooh, it's almost like an editing challenge. I mean, it is part of an editing challenge. It's so dope, MJ, that you picked this footage and even like tried this out. By the way, quick plug. If you now join the Fullstack Editor Club, you will also get access to all of the editing challenge footage. So you can try this out. You can also send in your submission to the editing challenge, but also this reacting tool that I'm doing now. There's much, much more. Do check it out. Link is in the description. Let's go back to the video. So I think this scene is really dope. I like the texture that you put over this. Make the same mistake. I also like how you did this. I like that you didn't overdo the deep glow. There's just a soft glow over it. It's nice. The reason no one hires them, that's also cool. I like the color scheme you went with. And this is also cool, is that you went with just one color and then with the white and black. I think maybe the blur in the edges is a bit too much because you can't really see this text anymore. But I love this concept also. I would have made these shadows probably a bit softer, but that's something small. I think this is actually really dope. Maybe a bit too much text here at the bottom. Again, I'm using a lot of filler words, and sometimes you don't need to put those on the screen, right? And you could have, for example, for this sentence, it's not only your skills that are holding you back, it's the way you present them. Could also be not only your skills and then the way you present them. Or I wouldn't do it in 2 lines anyway, but then you can put it on 1 line, or you can make a strike through where the line goes through it. Like, you get my point. This is super dope. I also like that there was like this posterized time effect on it. I'm not so sure about this expert editor font, if that fits the vibe. I feel like this dotted digital font. So for example, I think maybe something like this, could work, because you're already having those squares and it's really digital. I think that would fit the vibe a bit more. And then this scene is really clean, simple, but clean. And sometimes it doesn't have to be that complicated. It can just be a line. It can just be some text. Really, really nice. Then the next one is Jacques' visuals.
Struggling with retention? Stop using old storytelling methods. If you're tired of seeing viewers drop off, you're not alone. Many creators like you make the same mistake. Let me show you why. The old story method looks like this. You set the scene, introduce the problem, build tension to the climax, then slowly descend to the ending. Marvel, Disney, Warner Bros. They all do this.
I really enjoyed this. I don't really have feedback looking at these scenes. I think it's also a good example of what is really nice in editing and animation, is just using the same colors and just keeping it minimal. I really like the style with the black and white too. And what's also cool is that this client also, or maybe it's a sample, but this client has the blue in the background, then with the blue in the text, and you kept using the same color. And again, there's not even a crazy effect over this. There's no bevel and emboss or like a drop shadow. Sometimes just minimalism can work really well. And what I liked is that you also kept these scenes somewhat similar. I think that also really helps with creating these videos. I had something similar with a client where I just created a template where the animations were always in the same scene, like the same backgrounds, the same colors, same text animations. And then I I could just duplicate that scene every time. Now, of course, you still customize what's being shown in the center or in the subject. But for example, I see that you reuse this grid, which is great. There's like a paper background that's also cool. And this is also really dope. You definitely cook, man. Then the next one is Phillip.
Here's a brutal truth about building a content-led business that no one wants to hear. Most people aren't putting in the effort they think they are. You think you're grinding, but you're not. You think you're consistent, but you're not. You think you're doing everything right, but you're not. See, most content creators confuse motion with progress. They think posting on 3 different platforms is omni-channel marketing. They think using the same content template is a systematic approach. They think copying other creators' strategies is best practices. That's not effort. That's going through the motions. Real effort is building a content-led business that looks something like this. Studying your audience's psychology for hours to understand what problems keep them up at night. Understand their cycle.
Cool. Simple, but cool. I like it. Nothing crazy, but sometimes it doesn't also have to be crazy. I think the invert effect is cool with the text. However, I do sometimes have a bit of a hard time reading it. That's mainly because of the background. It makes it a bit difficult. So what you could do is you can add this text, like duplicate the captions and then maybe filling it in a tiny bit. The effect is not as heavy and you can read it a bit better. I like combining written fonts with normal fonts. I'm not the biggest fan of this written font, but that's also personal. And what's also cool to do sometimes is to just have one word inverted with the invert effect and then have the rest just normal, maybe white, or maybe, I don't know what his brand colors are, but if it's orange or red. I like how you animated the text and then some B-roll. I did sometimes think that the B-roll was ungraded. I think it needed a bit of contrast to it, a bit of grade. And again, the text is also quite difficult to read. And this also depends on the client and of course, how much you get paid for it. I think some animation you could have added here too. Then here, this is a cool scene. I do think that this halftone effect is a bit too heavy and you can easily get around that by changing the blending mode or maybe even lowering down the opacity a bit. And also in terms of animation, if you do have time and also budget to create it, you could add here, for example, with creators, confuse motion with progress. You can easily have a progress bar or motion with like a ball moving from left to right. It doesn't have to be like a crazy animation. Just having something on the screen to explain a concept can work really well. Here, I also thought the halftone was a bit heavy, but cool scene still. This was also really dope. Here, you just went with the normal text. I like that. But solid edit. And what you did do well is you kept the same colors. You kept the same fonts also. Here, you can also see some elements that you reused, which is great. Saves a lot of time and also creates a style. Then the next one is Zakir.
So you've been stuck in your 9 to 5. You've been earning a wage that is actually very good for your age. Your mum thinks so, your friends think so, most importantly, you think so. But that doesn't sit right with you because you know that there is more to life out there. That fire that you have inside of you grows day by day, but you don't know where to apply it. Then you go to book off holiday and you realize that you've only got 19 days left for the rest of the year. Those 19 days of freedom that you have, those 19 days of holiday that you have left for the rest of the year, crush your soul because
so cool. Zakir, oh my God. You made really cool animations. To be honest, what I immediately notice is that the animation are like almost really like next level with the 3D and they don't really match the style of the client. Like when I see the scene, I see some like rough edges on the wall. I see some spots on the wall. I see these two things. My eyes go there during the story. The radiator. Now, of course, you could argue, okay, the client maybe needs to change the setup a bit, but maybe the client really likes the setup and maybe he wants that like rawness to it. And if that's true, then I think your animations are a bit of a mismatch because your animations are crazy, your editing is crazy. But this was so like magical and really like beautiful. Where if we see this boxing and the raw wall, it almost makes me feel like these types of styles fit in that better. I'm not 100% sure how that would work out. And you can still make it modern by doing things like this with a poster on a concrete wall, or maybe something like this where it's being spray painted on the ground or something like that. Or this style, which is really grungy with a grungy texture over it, having everything black and white, or even something like this. I'm not 100% sure, but or the client needs to change his setup to match your style of editing or the other way around. And this doesn't say anything about your editing because your editing is really good. And I also think the scenes are really cool and magical and grows day by day, that the flower grows. I don't know, it makes me really happy. So I secretly really hope maybe the client changes his setup a bit, but that's sometimes difficult to expect. At the end of the day, clients are clients and they also have a certain vision of their brand. But that's my main feedback. We'll maybe also see if you can match your style, like your own style, that it's a bit the same, because I did see that, for example, this versus this is completely different, but I'm sure you can nail that. And then lastly, with this text animation is cool. I would have probably, because it's on a white background, just made the text black instead of white. So you don't have to do this shadow, because now you can really see the shadow, or make the shadow that is like more of a roundness along the edge. And then the next one is Iman.
Analyzing more than 300 fast-growing faceless channels, I found something surprising. Over 90% of the top performers share one thing in common. They all create in very specific niches that most people completely overlook. So if you're ready to stop chasing trends and start building something that
Cool scene. It's with his AI client. I can't judge based on the setup. What I did notice is that first scene took me out of it a bit. I'm not sure what happens here. Like, I don't know what's happening here in the background. I think these are two people or something, two persons. Again, I don't know the concept of the video, so it's hard for me to judge. But what I probably would do is make a cool like title of this. You can keep the secret niche in the center, but maybe remove these and then make it mosaic or blurred along the edges also. So not just the image itself, and maybe having a bit of like a darker background or a gradient in it. Now this is cool with the match cuts. Don't have feedback on that. I think that's cool. Then I would have added some motion blur here, but I really love this scene. I think you did really well with this. What you also did well is that it's really smooth. There's continuous movement. You made this like nicely fade. And then also my attention went to the top. I really like that. It was really satisfying to watch how you also went to the top where this text came in. You could also keep this as very specific niches, but hey-oh, the sentence is still like reasonably short. And this text animation is cool. Like always, I want to thank all the editors of the Fullstack Editor Club for submitting their edits. You guys are awesome. You can find the links to all of the editors in the description. If you also want to submit your edits, do join the Fullstack Editor Club. You also learn how to become a pro editor, learn how to get clients, how to do personal branding, and join a community full of amazing editors and much, much more. Do check that out. Link is in the description. Don't forget to subscribe. And of course, thanks for watching. Thanks for all the support, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.